Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, and this is Point-Counterpoint, and I'm with Turron Davenport of footballgameplan.com, also the editor of Eagles Wire and Sportsnet Central on Comcast Sports Network. You can find him there on your TV. Turron, we're here at MetLife Stadium. Giants knocked off the Eagles 28-23. Let's start with the Eagles offense in this game. What were some of your takeaways?
Well, my first takeaway is Darren Sproles. He had a lot more carries than all of the other Eagles running backs. We talked before the game, and you know Wendell Smallwood is a guy I felt should have gotten more carries. 2 carries, 25 yards. So that's what I look at right away. I do also look at the passing game. I noticed that they were able to finally get vertical with Bryce Treggs now making his NFL debut on the play-action pass. They were able to also get that chemistry down with Ertz and Carson Wentz. That's something that they've been working on all season, and it just was not happening. But today, they were able to make it happen. They just came up short.
And what's interesting about that, we talked about this before the game started, was that they were trying to make Wentz be Alex Smith. You got to allow Carson Wentz to be Carson Wentz. And quite honestly, outside of the 2 turnovers early in the game, he played well because they let him be who he is, and allowed him to go deeper down the field, and they allowed him to, get outside the pocket and things of that nature. I thought today's offense just looked different than what we've seen over the last couple of weeks when they were struggling.
Yeah, you're right. One of the things that they're not able to start. It's interesting because they're not able to start well and finish well. But, in between, they play outstanding, and it's just unfortunate that they're losing these close games. This is what I think the fourth game. Yeah, all 4 of their losses, they haven't been blown out. They're always able to get in position late in the game. This is the 3rd time they spotted the opposing team at least 14 points. They just couldn't come back in the end. Yeah, and one of the things that I was telling you about was that first game preseason, where what they did was they kept him on the move. He is a guy that is, almost like one of the guys that we call black quarterbacks.
Right.
This is his style of play. Really, I just call him an athletic quarterback. He can make plays outside of the pocket, and that's what they allowed him to do. If you notice, they used the read option. They let him get the football, outside a couple times. But more importantly, he was able to get vertical, like you mentioned. I think that throw that he was able to make to Bryce Treggs for the 58-yard completion, I think that kind of loosened him up. They used him on play action. They were able to get him loose there as well.
And the running game, again, you mentioned this before off camera about the Wendell Smallwood effect. Now he was the best inside runner. I'm Team Sproles. I'm thinking Sproles, get in there and make some things happen in the passing game and also in space. But that first carry was an inside run, and Smallwood popped it.
Yeah, 19-yard gain. And that's the thing that I like about Smallwood. There's no wasted movement laterally. He just hits that hole. Obviously, you want to be patient and not hit it at the wrong time, but he hits the hole, and when he sees it, he explodes through. I know he's not 220 pounds, and you have that myth where you have to be that big to run between the tackles. I think the Eagles show that every week because 2 of their smaller backs are able to do it. I'm big on Smallwood as far as what he could do. It's just a matter of time until they unleash him. He had 2 carries, 26 yards.
Right.
You have to give him the football.
And you look at the offensive MVP for the Philadelphia Eagles, I think we both in agreement that the much-maligned Zach Ertz did a good job today. I think he went over 100 yards and found himself open a lot in a small zone area and even in clutch situations. I thought he played a great game. Yeah,
he did play a great game. 97 yards on the day, just short of 100. And it's unfortunate that they didn't get him the ball on that last drive. But, things happen, and the flow of the game took them away from him.
Now, you look at the Giants' offense, I thought this was a great game from a schematic standpoint. They was able to spread the field and attack the Eagles vertically downfield with those 3 options at receiver.
Yeah, the thing that I continue to see from the Giants, they love those rub routes, and they love to get Odell Beckham Jr. free on that slant. And they know if he's able to catch that ball and find the smallest crease, his acceleration, he's like a high-end sports car.
Right.
When he gets that football, 0 to 60 in 2 seconds. I mean, that guy is very explosive, and that's what they like to do. I do like that they got Sterling Shepard involved. He's a guy, I was high on him at the Senior Bowl and coming into this year. It was nice to see him get involved as well.
And they started to get Paul Perkins involved too. He made some big runs to close out this ball game. I thought that was very impressive. And they didn't do a bad job of protection up front. Eli really had a lot of time to throw the football. But offensively, you look at the MVP for the Giants. To me, I thought it was Odell Beckham because he made 2 big plays that ended up helping the Giants win.
Yeah, you have to go with Beckham. He made a number of big plays, but we talked about the slant for the touchdown, but then you also have to look at the fade for the touchdown when he beat Leotis McKelvin, I think it was. McKelvin failed to turn around for the football, and Beckham went up and got it. I mean, that dude, this is my first time seeing him live in the NFL, and man, I'm very impressed. As a receiver, I can always appreciate big-time play from that position, and that's what he brings.
And that was right there in the corner for that touchdown against McKelvin. Now, moving over to the Giants' defense. This is where I thought they had the advantage coming to this ball game because of what they have personnel-wise on the outside.
Yeah.
When you look at Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie, Eli Apple, Janoris Jenkins, you also look at Landon Collins in the back end, they can press up front and throw off the timing of the Eagles' passing game, and I thought they did exactly that early on, which led to 2 interceptions.
I tell you what, Janoris Jenkins, they call him Jack Rabbit, and that's the guy. I really like watching him play. He's not the tallest guy. Going against Dorial Green Beckham, who's 6'5", he's 5'10". They weren't able to post him up. They weren't able to get the ball to him, Beckham on the fades, and that just says a lot just for his athletic ability. He's very physical. He'll get the jam, but I really like his ball skills to where he could go up and match height with a guy that much taller than him. And you saw him do that multiple times on deep shots. So he definitely stands out. I like how they also were using Landon Collins in the box as well, sending him on blitz. He had a big-time sack to end the first half.
And also had an interception in his game as well. And that's actually my defensive MVP. I thought the way he's able to play in all facets of defense, he earned that award after this game. Who's your defensive MVP?
Honestly, I'm going to kind of go off the path, and I'm going to go Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. I thought he played very well on the outside. I thought that he did a good job of knocking down some of the deep passes that they took, and he's someone that stood out to me. So I would have to say that cornerback, DRC, was my defensive MVP. Obviously, no interceptions, no stats, so to speak, but it's not all about that.
Right.
When you watch the games, you look for outstanding play, and he brought it today.
And you look at the Eagles' defense in this game, I thought in the second half is where they really turned it up. Jordan Hicks, I was very impressed with.
Yes.
The speed sideline to sideline. They really didn't get the pressure from a defensive line standpoint, but they were able to shut down the Giants' running game. I know this is a Giants running game, and it's not world beaters, but they really made the Giants one-dimensional, and they came up with a big play to put the Eagles in position to win this game, actually, but just didn't pan out offensively. I thought the Eagles' defense played well. What were your takeaways?
It's hard not to say Jordan Hicks was the standout because he did play very well. It's tough, man, because, Nolan Carroll is a guy. I think he's severely underrated as a corner. I love the way he's able to play that slant. He's able to reach in and get that interception on the slant to set them up for that late drive that fell short. Defensively, I just would like to see them stop the run a little bit better when it mattered.
True.
Most on that last drive. But I mean, there was a lot of guys that stood out because you also have to mention Rodney McLeod, someone I was mentioning to you earlier before the game. I love the way that his timing. He's able to make those clean hits, but those hits that hurt.
Right.
And make you cough the ball up. And he had 2 of those today, and his range, it showed. So that would have to be the guy that I would mention.
Now, where they have to improve, obviously, is with communication. We saw a lot of coverage busts back then. We saw coverage busts from the Giants in the second half defensively. A lot of those plays were running wide open. But the Eagles, they gave up 2 big touchdowns because of coverage busts, miscommunication on the back end. I think that's an area you're at practice every day. What are you seeing from a communication standpoint, why that was an issue in this ball game here?
Well, their communication is normally much better. That's actually a strength of theirs. But that, I think you're referring to the Roger Lewis touchdown.
Exactly.
That was, if you watch that play again, I went back and watched it. Lewis gave him a nice move to the post and then exploded upfield, and it looked like McKelvin bit on that, as well as just, Watkins didn't get over. He wasn't over top high enough to
get over that. He tried to cut it across, and it angled.
And they ended up angles once again, and they ended up colliding. And McKelvin, I talked to him after the game. He did say that move to the post actually got him, but he also kept mentioning the hamstring. Now, here's the thing. I don't believe in excuses. At the same time, you want to be as healthy as possible. So this is one of those situations where I think the Eagles might have needed to get Jalen Mills in the football game a little bit more if McKelvin's hamstring was bothering him that much.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, when you're a top player like he is, you don't want to come out the game for any reason.
Exactly.
You don't want someone to say, "Oh, I made him get out the game because I put a move on him." You want to get out there and play. You have to love his ability to fight through that pain, because we both know when that hamstring goes and you're relying on quick twitch muscles, that's your gas right there. You're done.
Yeah.
So where do the Eagles go from here?
Well, one of the things that happened when they came back in after Doug Peterson spoke to them, Malcolm Jenkins addressed the team. Mm-hmm. And Carson Wentz, when he had his presser after the game, he said that, we believe in our team. We're going to turn it around. This is a team that's so close. And I know every game there's always a particular turning point, a play that if it went this way or that way will help determine the end result of the game. But they haven't lost a game by more than 7 points, if I could recall. It's been close games. So they have to figure out a way to finish, and they have to figure out a way to start better. Carson Wentz put them in bad situations today, down 14-0. You cannot start a game that way. Rookie or not, you cannot. You have to be better with your throws. You have to be more accurate. You have to go back to your mechanics, which is something that they're working on. So I think this is a team that can rebound, and they referred to Jordan Matthews, referred to, Doug Peterson and his experience with the Chiefs last year. I mean, 1-5, they turned things around, won 11 straight. I'm not saying the Eagles are going to do that, but that's something that they can lean on.
And they're a very good team. The Eagles have a ton of props from me because of how well they play defensively, and offensively they do put a lot of pressure on you by how they're able to attack down the field, and also with their running game. Their offensive line, I think, is very underrated. For the Giants, I think where they go from here, I like how today they use the pass to set up the run a little bit. If they can do that moving forward, because that's where your strength lies, the personnel department, and as far as like the receivers, you have 3 excellent receivers, 4 if you want to count Roger Lewis, 5 if you want to count Tavares King, who had an outstanding training camp. So they can spread the field and then use that to set up their run. Personnel in the backfield, you kind of think, okay, maybe we can go with Paul Perkins, or maybe we can stick with this guy, but I think they just have to find the right mix and use that pass to set up the run. If they can do that, I think they'll be able to be much more productive offensively. Now, defensively, I think what we saw today is who they are. They're a very good defense. They can stop the run. They can defend the pass. They can pick off passes, but they have to make sure they find a pass rush. That's the one thing. When Landon Collins is leading your team in sacks and he's a safety, it says something about your ability to get pressure with your front four, because you have to blitz to get pressure. You're not going to win a lot of football games deep in December, deep in January, if you're not able to get pressure with your front four. So I think that's where they have to go from a defensive standpoint.
One of their biggest investments this offseason was none other than Olivier Vernon. So they need to get production out of him. But I thought JPP did a pretty good job. He had the blocked field goal as well. But really what I can't wait to see is this Giants team with a healthy Darian Thompson. The range that he brings to the table, and just being able to see how he and Landon Collins could work together, I think that's going to make this defense, a really good one. And I look forward to watching them in the future. Just would like to see them clean up that linebacker position, though.
And this is a great game for round 1. Round 2 will be next in Philadelphia, and this was a great point-counterpoint segment. We didn't really get into a big debate on this one. Not many point counterpoints on this one. We kind of agree a little bit, but for Turron Davenport, I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook with footballgameplan.com, and as well as Turron Davenport, you can follow him on Twitter at @TDavenport_NFL. I'm at FBallGamePlan. Thanks for tuning in.